Welcome to the Veronica Edwards Show, where we have fun financial conversations that everyone listening can apply to their personal and professional life. I'm your host, Veronica Edwards, CPA, and today we are back, season 6. As always, completely independent, sponsored by Balance Virtually LLC, my accounting and consulting business. As always, I have to shout out the V team. We are over 85,000 views across all platforms. I know I'm always shouting out the subscribers on YouTube, which we appreciate, but we're also on all platforms, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and you guys have really been showing up and showing out. So I'm working on revamping my sponsorship program because we are officially mini influencers. That is a term that friend to the show, Joanna Haggerty, has coined for the Veronica Edwards Show, where we're starting to get some traction on the shorts and starting to get people taking notice. So we appreciate it. So please head over to balancevirtually.com or veronicaedwards.buzzsprout.com to like, subscribe, listen to prior shows, and just always stay in touch with everything that we're doing for the Veronica Edwards Show. So today I am happy to have my good friend, my sister, Ebony Sharonda, a faith-driven entrepreneur, speaker, and business leader who serves as the Chief Operating Officer of Cassie Electric, as well as the owner and founder of Ebony Sharonda Co. Ebony Sharonda is woman owned. And she brings a powerful background in operations, leadership, community building, and she's deeply passionate about helping individuals and business owners move from survival mode to sustainable growth, which fits in perfectly with our topic today. So, Ebony, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again. Hey.
Yes. And also, I didn't add, this is our segment, The Growth Code. We recoined it. It was definitely time for a change because Ebony Sharonda is all about clarity, confidence, and activation. And we realize with being entrepreneurs is not just about the financial aspect, it's also mind, body, spirit, all that good stuff. So, Ebony, fill us in on what you've been doing since the last time we chatted. Ebony was on our live in February, our highest live to date. It's our second live. And we just appreciate you always making the time. So tell us what's been going on.
Oh, well, a lot, of course, still growing, moving along with Cassie Electric, still partnering with some of our larger firms to diversify our portfolio in terms of revenue streams.
Uh-huh.
I'm also doing adjunct teaching at Greenville Tech this summer. So I've been in the whole loop of the hiring process through higher education, which is a whole thing.
Yes, it is.
And I have been teaching a co-starters program at Village Launch, which is a program offered to entrepreneurs to help them to either get started if they're stuck in their idea or scale their already existing business. So I'm having a lot of fun.
Girl, I'm just hearing cha-ching, cha-ching, like a lot of good things. And you're glowing as always. I
Thank
was
you.
telling our producer, shout out to Aaron, you're glowing.
Oh,
You look very
thanks.
moisturized.
I am,
Yes, you
girl. I
look
got some new Korean
great.
skincare I've been using.
You have said that, which I want to get in Women's History Month. Now
Yes.
this is going to air April the 2nd, so we won't be in Women's History, but we're going to drag it because we should always get credit that is due. And I also, even though Brush and Level is not female owned, I want to shout out Brush and Level. They're doing some work upstairs in the master bedroom. So if anybody just happens to walk in and out, they'll wave, but we're going to keep it pushing because again, as we know, as women business owners, Ebony, like the show doesn't stop just
Okay.
because there's things going on with construction, as you know, or things going on in our personal life. So I'm super excited for us to discuss today running a business and knowing the difference from the mindset of
Mhm.
employee and thinking like a CEO. So, Ebony, you're going to be running us through all of the areas of how to make that shift. So, I just want to run through the 5 steps real quick, and then we're going to dig into each area. Number one, make the identity shift. You are now a CEO. It sounds simple and like, of course, but it's a struggle. 2, stop doing everything yourself. 3, start making decisions based on data, not emotion. 4, move from busy to strategic. And last, raise your standards and of course, raise your prices with that.
Please
So,
and
Miss
thank you.
Ebony Sharonda, yes, can you lead us down this road?
Yes. So step one is make the identity shift. You are the CEO now. I like to say you're the boss. Okay. You're the boss. So
Period.
all things, yes, are going to start and stop with you. So you have to decide that you are a CEO now, that you are no longer employee. So a lot of people are shifting from I work for a company, I take orders, I do exactly what is told, to now I run my own company and I am the sole decision maker. I know our last episode, we talked about decision fatigue, and this is where a lot of that can come
Mhm.
into play, is because all decisions are being generated by you, all ideas are being generated by you. You're the visionary, you're the
Yes.
executor, you're all the things, but you have to decide that you are the CEO. You can't sit back and sit on your hands and wait for someone else to do what you're ultimately going to have to do or that you're going to have to decide. So no one promotes you, no title is handed to you. The moment you start your business, you stepped into a leadership role. And that leadership role may not be because you've got a down line of team members. It's also to your clients, right? To your customers,
Yes.
to the people who you are forward facing. You need to remember that you are the leader of this organization and it's time to start thinking like one. So level up.
Ooh, there were so many gems in that before we move on, which leads to the next tip is stop doing things yourself. But the first step, like you said, is you have to figure out your identity. What are the things as a CEO you have to do?
Hmm.
And what are some of the things that you can delegate? But I know as the money lady, usually as the CEO, you're the last one to get paid when you own your
Oh,
own business.
yeah.
It's different from when you work for a corporation where the CEO and the CFO and all the OOs are making all the money. But I don't think I really gave myself a good payroll this year yet. And we're almost into April
Yeah.
because you got to make sure everything else is in place.
Yeah, so that's part of that decision making, right? It's part of you understanding what your priorities are. Of course, you should be a priority. You should incorporate yourself into your business. But until we can get to a point where we're even worried about paying other people, because some of us are solopreneurs, some of us are
True.
small hobbyists that are trying to turn our business into something more scalable, you have to remember that you still are the priority in this business because without you, there is no business. So,
Hmm.
CEO mindset, it is not an action driven thing per se. It is a mindset shift of where you start to understand that if I don't get up and do this work, I don't get paid. And being paid
Yep.
doesn't necessarily mean a payroll, because, like you just stated, sometimes we're not paying ourselves, but it does mean that I'm not collecting on my invoices. I'm not receiving what I need to get in order to pay my vendors. So if I have somebody who I'm buying things from to make my product or service, I have to pay them. So in order for me to get the
Hmm.
money I need in order to do that, I can't think like, oh, well, on Friday, it's just going to direct deposit into my account. No, you're now not only a salesperson, but you're also collections, right?
I
So
know.
shift
I
your mind
know.
into thinking about how am I going to collect what I need? How am I going to do what I need to do? And all the other decisions that go along with being a CEO.
Yes, and that leads us right into the next tip. Stop doing everything yourself. Ebony, let's talk about it.
Yeah. So everything yourself is really hard, especially when you are a solopreneur, because you tend to believe that because you don't have employees, that you have to do everything yourself. There's also a control factor there, right? It's your baby. Who
Mhm.
knows it better than you? I have to do it all. If I don't do it, it's not going to get done right. And those are myths, right? Those are stories that we have told ourselves from bad experiences in the past that we have to just release. You are not a task manager anymore. You are more strategic in mindset. You are thinking long game and how do I get to that? So we call it the roadmap essentially. And the roadmap is where am I now? Where am I going? And in order to really navigate that, you can't be on your to do list every day, all day, just checking things off. You need to be thinking
Mhm.
about if this happens, then what? If that happens, then what? And I'm not the master of all things. I may be a generalist at everything, but at some point in time, I need an expert. I need somebody that this is what they do. So I know how to build a spreadsheet. I know how to document my ins and outs, but I am not a financial expert. So at some point, I need to engage with a CPA. I need to get somebody who can help me navigate the growth process of my business and explain to me in financial terms what's going on. So you're no longer a task manager. You're now strategic in thought. You're thinking about systems. How can I document what I'm doing so that somebody else can do what I'm doing as I move on to the next thing that helps to grow and scale my business?
Yes, and we also know with not doing everything yourself, we live in an era of AI.
Yeah.
AI is everywhere. And now, of course, we warn about AI. We've had prior shows about that is more for repetition, the same type of redundant type activity. But just to your point, Ebony, if someone is wanting strategic assistance and really needing another real human to talk to, AI is not always going to work. I love AI for my contracts and social media and things of that sort that I can schedule and put systems in place. But you definitely want to make sure, like you said, your business is your baby. A lot of times it takes a village, and so you want to embrace that village if you want to be successful. So, all right, what is our next tip after stop doing it yourself? What is the
S-
next thing we should be thinking about?
Start making decisions based on data and not emotions. This is
Mm,
where we see a real big shift in your mindset. Okay. So CEOs know their numbers, what's coming in, what's going out, what's actually profitable, employees' reaction, CEOs plan, right? So decision making initially starts off of a gut reaction. So we started a business because there was a problem that we're trying to solve for somebody. Somebody said, "Oh, I need X." And you're like, "I can do
mhm,
that." Or there was a problem in some service that you experienced with someone and you said, I could do it better than them. So
mhm,
generally, or you have a trade or of some sort. You're an accountant, you're an electrician, and you want to market your services. So you started out based off of some type of emotion or skill set. But now we need to look at the data, not just in your financials, but even in your marketing. Who's viewing your shorts? Who's your audience? Who are the people that I'm engaging with on a day to day that I don't even know, right? Do I service more men or do I service more women? How old are these people that I'm working with? How do I know if I have enough money to go buy this new equipment or buy extra inventory? Those are not emotion based decisions.
mhm,
Though that is
mhm,
data. You need to be looking at the demographics, you need to be looking at your numbers, and if there's things that you don't know, it goes back to our number two, which was this is when you engage with people that are the experts in those areas. And
mhm,
okay, I don't have the money, sure, but there's bartering, there's trade, there's all these things that's been going on for centuries that has happened over time that we've got to just learn how to be creative in how we do what we do. So we're no longer making decisions based off of, oh, I feel like next year I'm going to have 50 new clients. It's no, the data tells me that I
mhm,
am bringing in, so this is historical information you're looking back at. Over the last year, I've brought in 5 new clients a month. Okay, so then
mhm,
I can predict or forecast out that next year I can at least do that and maybe challenge myself to do one extra a month. That's data. That's not feelings.
mhm.
That's strategic. And that's how you make decisions based off of the facts.
I love that. And I also, when I think about emotions as a business coach, I tell people have contracts. Have contracts so that it's black and white and that is not like, well, you told me this. And no, you signed a contract and I signed a contract and now we're on the same page and it's just facts over feelings, period.
Period. I mean, I think that you use AI as a great example of when you need to engage with it, right? AI is a great
Mm-hmm.
tool to give you a template that you can use the language that is specific to your business and they can help you to
Sure.
formulate that. But AI should not be driving decisions for your business. It's there as a resource, it's there to give you high level information, but you
Mm-hmm.
still need to be able to understand. We had a gentleman in a class that I was teaching last night. We asked a very specific question and he used AI. He threw in his ideas. But his ideas was he thought was all jumbled up and it wasn't clear. So he used AI to give us an answer. But AI's answer was so high level that he still didn't tell us the very
Yeah.
specific question that we asked. So again, yes, AI is there to help you formulate your contracts, but you have to
Polish.
tell AI who you are, what you do. You have to feed it information. So again, you still need to have the data in order to be able
Mm-hmm.
to even engage with AI.
You hit that right on the head. It's all about the data. And so, what I led into a little bit about having the contracts when it comes to pricing, that leads us right into our next area.
Raise your
R-
standards and your prices.
Yes.
So, let's be for real. If you don't know what's going on in your business, then you can't raise your standards, right? Because you
Mhm.
think that what you're doing is everything and all things. You have to understand the information in order to understand your position in the market and for
Mhm.
you to know if you are pricing your business correctly. So if you're underpricing yourself, if you're burning the candle at both ends and overworking, if you're over delivering without boundaries, that's that contract that we talked about, meaning I have a contract to offer you 10 widgets. And so I'm going to give you 10 widgets, not I'm going to give you 15 widgets just because, I like you so much and I want to prove to you that I do the
Right.
work. No, stick to your contract. Know your boundaries. Those 5 extra widgets that you just gave away was profit for your business, right? And if you're not at a place where you can give things away, then you need to know what those boundaries are. And a contract is a great way for doing that. But in terms of understanding your standards, you got to know that what your service is provides a solution to someone else. You need to understand that you are the best at what you're doing. This is why they
Mhm.
call you. You have to believe in yourself and believe in what you're offering in order to be able to stand 10 toes down on this is my price, right? Like, and
Yes. Yes.
you can go out there and look for somebody else and they may be cheaper, but they're not going to give you what I'm going to give you, right? And you
Right.
know that
Right.
confidently. So you can confidently communicate your prices because you got the data, you know
Mhm.
your worth. You shifted
Mhm.
your mindset from an employee to CEO, which means you strategically know what it takes to not only fulfill this order, but to grow your business, right? And so
Yes.
that's how you can stand on your standards is by elevating your mindset, educating yourself about your business. Use your business as a case study, right?
Mhm.
Like plug yourself into if I was a XYZ firm, what would I look like, right? How do they do what they do? No, you can't do what Walmart does, but you
Right.
can certainly look at what Walmart has built from the beginning and what did they do to become Walmart if that is what your goal is.
Mhm, mhm. And because we are kind of focusing on small business owners that are just getting started, we all can admit, Ebony, when we first got started, we kind of backed into what our bills were, and that was the pricing. There wasn't no market research. We weren't really understanding. We were just kind of throwing stuff against the wall. And then once we started learning and working with other people that advised us, we're like, oh, yeah, let me start working with other people in my industry, asking them what is the common business practices in our industry. Do you usually give a contract? What's the lowest rate you would do for this based off of your experience? Blah, blah, blah. But again, it goes back to having that data. And I know that when you're just getting started, you're just so overwhelmed. But like you said, Ebony, there's so many resources out there. In North Carolina, the small business centers are available for all the community colleges and they're free. And so
Mhm.
I've been teaching at the Small Business Center where our taxpayer dollars pay for these classes. Also, Mountain BizWorks, they have a lot of classes subsidized or scholarships. So I know I'm speaking specifically to things that I'm aware of in North Carolina, and I know there's people listening everywhere, but check your local area chamber of commerce, different organizations, small business centers, CDFIs, industries, and organizations that are non for profit that are out there to support small business growth.
And I would also like to add to that as well as we talked about this in previous episodes where mentorship is important. I know as
Yes.
Black women, oftentimes it's very hard for us to secure other Black women who are able or available or even have the resources to mentor us. But so what? If it's a white man, if it's a Asian woman, it doesn't, you need a mentor specific to your
Hmm.
industry as well as somebody who can keep you grounded. So I had multiple mentors. I didn't just have one. I had someone who was mentoring me in the electrical industry, but he was a corporate president, which means he didn't handle insurance and he didn't handle
Hmm.
bonding. They had a larger entity that oversaw that portion of it. So he was not able to help me in that regard, but he could help me in all things understanding electrical pricing, right? And then I had
Exactly.
a business mentor who just owned and operated. He was also a family owned business, a Black male whose daughter took over the business. I was like his daughter. He was talking to her through to me, right? Like by mentoring
I
me
love
through
that.
the challenges of helping me to understand what my mother may have been experiencing as she was transitioning into more of a presidential role rather than a day-to-day operator of the business. And so
Hmm.
my point being is not only are there resource centers out there that are available, tap into your already existing network and look for mentors. And we talked about this before too. Get out and network. You have to get
Yes.
out and meet other people. I have a young lady in
Hmm.
a class I'm teaching. She says, I don't like people, and I don't want to get out there and have frivolous conversations. And I said, well, you don't want to grow your business,
Right.
because people are your customers. People are your mentors. People are your mentees. You got to give back, right? You've got
Right.
all these level of things that you have to do as a CEO. CEOs are not just sitting behind their desk producing content. They're not just sitting in the warehouse making shirts. They are out networking. They're looking for people to support them in their business, either through services that they need or that they can
Hmm.
secure to do trade with. But they're
Hmm.
also looking for people out there who they can pour into, because giving back, man, it feels so great when you've learned something and you can now
Yes.
share that with somebody else. You don't even
Yes.
know how that blesses your soul and it blesses your
Hmm.
business, because believe it or not, it's free advertisement, right? Like Ebony
Hmm.
from Cassie Electric is here packing boxes for the homeless. Like,
Yes.
who are these
Right.
people?
Right. And that goes back, well, not goes back, that leads to our last shift, which is moving from busy to strategic. Exactly
Mhm.
what you said. You might think, well, if I'm not in the work, then what am I doing? Networking, planning, planting those seeds is part of being strategic and not busy. So, Ebony, please shine some light on this because I think, especially early in that entrepreneurship journey, people struggle with this.
It's one phrase, coin saying we say out here in the business network, and that is work on your business, not just in your business. So the
Yep.
difference between working in your business and on your business is simple. In your business means you are doing just what we just described. You're knitting if you're a knitter, you're pie baking if you're a pie baker, you're watching the kids if you're a daycare center. You're
Right.
doing the day-to-day activities of what it takes, and that is called survival mode, right? Like you just gotta
Mm,
do what you gotta do to keep
just
the lights
existing.
on. I'm just out
Right.
here. There's no strategy in that. That's literally just flagellating out in the water, right? You just like,
Mm,
I'm just trying to survive. I'm trying to survive, right?
yes.
But when you shift from working in your business to working on your business, you now realize that it's so important to create processes so that you can hand it off to someone else. Let's go back to the same
Hmm.
analogy of your baby, right? You're not going to
Yep.
just drop your kid off at any daycare or with any caregiver. You're going to do some research and you're going to be able to walk in there and say, my child is lactose intolerant. They don't drink this. Here's their bag of food that I want them to eat for lunch. They like to nap around this time. And not that everything's going to work according to your plan, but you have created at least a framework for them to be able to operate in. So it's the same.
Expectations, standards.
This is what we do. We're a
Hmm.
daycare, we're not a dog sitter. So if you have a client to come in and they want to drop their dog off, you like, yeah, sorry, no, we don't do that, right?
Yeah, and we're laughing, but we get this all the time. People be
Yes.
so thirsty in the beginning of their business. For me, for example, people will say to me all day long, "Are you a tax accountant?" Now, years later, I'm like, I'll do some business returns here or there, but just because I'm a CPA doesn't mean that I'm going to try to fit myself into being a tax preparer. Or same thing with being a certified financial planner. Planner. Now that's something I'm interested in, but everybody was throwing that on me, and then they got to the point where like, well, what do you do as a CPA? And I'm like, there's a lot of things that I do, but people have a different mindset of what your services
Mhm.
are. So you have to make sure that you're intentional and strategic so people know this is what I do. I'm not going to waver on it regardless of the dollar amount.
And that goes back to what we were just talking about is be strategic and not just busy. Because when people throw these new things out at you like, "Oh, you should do this. Oh, this is a great idea. You should try that." You don't want more busy work, right? You want to be
Right.
strategic. Strategic means focus, right? You need to
Yes.
focus on what you're doing right now, complete that, be really good at that, and then move on to the next thing. But to have 5 pots boiling over at one time, thinking that you're actually doing something because I got the water boiling for the macaroni, I got the rice going.
Right. I'm over
Somebody
here
forgot
working.
it was something in the oven, right? And
Some's going to burn.
some gonna
Some ain't going to
burn.
work out.
So be very strategic in how you do that. Yeah, sure. The macaroni's in the oven. Now I can focus on the rice, right? I got a timer going. I know when I need to move from one task to the other. But strategic is focus. And so as you are building your brand, building your business, know clearly what services and products that you offer and stay in your lane and travel in that
That's
lane
it.
until you can get better at what you're doing and create processes for people to be able to do those things that, hey, I don't need to be the one answering the phone for my business right now. Right? Like that requires somebody who's available to return
Right.
phone calls frequently and to check emails frequently and to be available forward facing for that customer. So I can't
Right.
do that. I can't do that and network and sit on a board and do all this podcast and
All the
all the
strategic
other things
things.
that I've got to do or plan for the future for our company if I'm answering the phone. So maybe my first task is a virtual assistant or a phone service or hire a
Right.
person to answer the phone. But I can't tell them how to answer the phone for my business if I haven't created a process for that, right? What is that
Hmm.
process?
Hmm.
Well, we're open from 9 to 5 on Monday through Thursday, from 9 to 12 on Friday, so that my phone service or my person answering the phone knows after those hours, they're not obligated to take any more phone calls. That's a process, right? We don't think of
Hmm.
it that
Hmm.
way, but it's the framework in which you want to build things. And that way you can move from working in your business to on your business, the networking, the financial literacy, the opportunities to find mentors and have coffee with them, the opportunities to volunteer and give back your time.
I love that. And it just sounds to just wrap everything up. Your business will only grow to the level of your mindset. So if you keep thinking like an employee, you will get employee results. So Ebony, thank you so much for helping us to just explain about, stop playing small and start making CEO decisions. If you can please share, Ebony, all the great things that you are doing. This is going to air in April. So from April, May, the summer, what's all the great things that we can do to support you?
Yeah, so we are rolling out season 2. It should be out by April. Our first episode, which is Sis, Let's Be Honest. It is a generational podcast where we have 4 women, including myself, that are different age ranges. And we're just talking about what it was to become a woman, who taught us those things. And so we're here, 4 different perspectives from women about that. So the Ebony Sharonda podcast, season 2 is live. We also are
Hey.
right? We also have Bible study. We're still doing kingdom building ministry work. That's out there as well on the Ebony Sharonda channel on YouTube, where we are studying the book of Job. We're finalizing that. By the time you hear this, we should be almost closing that book out and be revealing what our next new book study will be. So stay plugged in with Kingdom Building Ministries through the Ebony Sharonda channel on YouTube. And of course, I'm just out here on Instagram, LinkedIn,
I
Facebook,
see you out here on
TikTok,
Instagram looking good. You just hosted a United Way
the Red
Gala or Red
Cross.
Cross.
Yes, I'm the
Sorry.
chair of the American Red Cross Upstate chapter. We just hosted our annual gala. We raised the most money in our history this year. So,
Of course you
hey,
did. Let's go.
yes.
That's what
So,
I'm saying.
really excited about what the Red Cross is doing and, plugged in with them. Also sitting on the board for the Chamber of Commerce here, Greenville Chamber of Commerce, which is the largest chamber in the upstate. And we are, doing good work for small businesses. I'm out here advocating hard for our women-owned and our small businesses, ensuring that we get the resources that we need, from funding to mentorship
Yes.
to courses to all of the things. So, hey, I'm just plugging in, getting in where I fit in,
Doing it
traveling.
very well.
Get re-
Don't give them too much. Don't give
I'm
them too much because
not,
we
I'm
know people
not.
be watching, trying to see where you at. We ain't gonna tell, but we'll let
No.
them know once you post the pictures and you're already back home. But Ebony Sharonda, thank you so much always for
Yes.
truth-packed, strategy-focused conversations with the growth code. Again, everybody, please follow Ebony Sharonda on all platforms, and of course, the V Team. Don't forget, subscribe to YouTube, Buzzsprouts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere where you can listen to podcasts, we are there. So until next time, stay balanced and financially savvy.